Carlos Farrow. We're so happy to have you two here. Don't let that mellow stuff fool you. We got some toe tapping stuff coming up, right? So, in case you don't recognize this group of rock stars, this is our 2017 Board of Trustees. You are loved. Just so you all know who's doing what, Laura Mead is our board pres this year. Kate Greger is our vice pres this year. Vicki Genkinger is the prosperity chair. And Sally Miller reminds us of what we said and did. She is our scribe, our secretary. And we have two trustees at large. I love that term. That means other duties as assigned. We have Jim Green and we have Linda Blacksmith. So I like to have with our board each year, I like to have an induction ceremony so the board gets it at a very deep level that we're all here serving mindfully, serving our ministry and serving our congregation. So I like to ask them to make commitments in front of God and everybody. Are you good with that? Yeah. You just don't know what the commitments are yet. So we have Laura Mead, we have Vicki, we have Sally, we have Linda, Jim, and Kate. Having been elected at our annual members meeting by the active members of UnityCR, you now stand on holy ground. Our congregants have entrusted to you the governance of this ministry. We all expect that you will serve, guided by Unity's 5 principles, UnityCR bylaws, and our leadership group agreements. As board trustee, your congregation anticipates that you are readily available and receptive to the individuals of our spiritual community. They each are counting on you to represent their interests, to recognize their value in our ministry, and to sincerely appreciate their ownership of UnityCR. You each have joyfully accepted the call to spiritual maturity and to leadership accountability. In carrying out your Board of Trustees duties, I remind you to give first priority to your personal spiritual development. Each of you is entrusted to fully support your senior minister and one another. You are christened alongside your minister to form the core consciousness of this spiritual community and to maintain its governance for its greater good. We expect you to demonstrate truth principles through your tithing of time, talent, and treasure. Standing here today, it is clear that you serve as an inspiration to our entire spiritual community. Yes? So, all y'all, do you agree to follow the 5 truth principles set forth by Unity, the bylaws of UnityCR, and our board agreements? If so, respond saying, "We do." Do you dedicate yourself to personally living our community mission? We provide spiritual awareness and share the wonder and joy of God's love. In carrying out your responsibilities as a trustee, do you agree to set aside your personal agenda and to turn within to the divine presence for inspiration and for wisdom? With the authority vested in me by Unity Worldwide Ministries, I hereby induct you as the 2017 Board of Trustees for the Unity Center of Cedar Rapids. Please accept, and this is where I choke up, please accept my heartfelt gratitude and rich blessings to you for a year of spiritual discovery, deeper connection, and truly joyful service. So remembering that we're all in this together, we will gather around our leadership Christ light, I'm going to call it, and I'm going to invite each board member as they light their light and plant it in our midst. I'm going to invite them to share their phrase about what is their intention of service this year. You want to go ahead, Kate?
I think we're on. Okay. I promise to light my light. I promise you that I will listen thoughtfully, that I will empower you as best I can, and I will encourage participation as I also participate in many, many things here at this center.
My intention is to serve with an open and kind heart and kind of be receptive for the higher good for individuals and for the community as a whole.
My intention is to listen with engagement and to serve my Unity community with creativity and mindfulness.
Yay.
I intend to continue to be present and to make mindful decisions in what we do.
My intentions are to serve with faith, understanding, and zeal.
My intention is to do everything they said, too. That's what happens when you're last. Do everything they said and bring abundance and joy and devote my time to this ministry.
I intend to serve this year in a wholehearted way with courage and from a place of vulnerability. And I think I heard joy in here. Joy is definitely in my intention this year. So namaste, blessings, and thank you all for supporting our ministry and our leadership circle. Board photo following the service, Kodak moment. So, this morning we get to begin our Easter journey. As I think I say every year, this is one of my favorite seasons, holiday seasons as it were, because the Easter experience is so rich and so real. Our source material, I think Carl mentioned, this book is available in our bookstore. It's called The Last Week, and it's written by two contemporary Bible scholars, and it's still readable, so that's a bonus. It's written by Marcus Borg and John Dominic Crossan. I will be hosting discussion groups. We have a 6-week series from now to Easter, and I'll be hosting a discussion group in Sacred Grounds and Books the middle 4 weeks, so that starts next Sunday. I encourage you to pick up the book. If these are gone, please see our office administrator, and she will happily order more and run out and get them and bring them in the next day. Like, her magic poof. Yeah. So, we're going to use on this entire journey, we're going to use a blend of 3 lenses to look at this story. One lens is our political lens. It's very important to understand. It's very important to one lost little sheep has just found her way to the youth ministry. So we use our political lens because it's very important to understand the political landscape of the day. We will use scripture, which reminds me I forgot to bring up a Bible, but the scripture I'm going to use happens to be in the book. And we'll use our metaphysical lens. And when we study Bible stories in Unity, one of the, as far as I know, it was originated by Unity co-founder. This type of study was originated by Unity co-founder Charles Fillmore. And when we look at the Bible scripture metaphysically, we are assuming characters, what their meaning is. We are assuming places, and finding our own personal identification in the story is probably the best way to say that. So here's the most important thing I can say about the Easter season. Actually, 2 important things. It ain't about the bunny, and it's not a spectator sport. Easter is a very personal, transformational journey, and I invite each of us, and each of us beyond these walls that are tuning in with us, to join in on the personal journey. Now, have you noticed, for those of you who are a bit familiar with what we call the Easter process and the Easter transformation, have you noticed that that process doesn't always wait till spring to occur? Doesn't have a calendar. Not based on a 12-month calendar. So this particular season, what I'm affirming for us all is that as we learn about this story, that we can dig many spiritual nuggets that will propel us through our own trials and through our own self-crucifixion to the next, and yes, we do crucify ourselves to the next level of awakening. So, not for the faint of heart, just up front, letting you know. Over the coming weeks, our task is to find ourselves in these characters, to find ourselves in these locations and what the meaning of the locations are. So our scripture, and pardon me for not reading from the Bible, a little blasphemous. So we're using the scripture of Mark, which was believed to be the first gospel written. And the best guess is that it was written some 40 to 50 years after Jesus lived. So you can imagine the accuracy of the stories that went down on paper. Yes? Just something to keep in mind. Because I know we can all write in detail about something that happened 40 years ago. And quote word for word. So we're in Mark chapter 11. When they were approaching Jerusalem at Bethphage and Bethany near the Mount of Olives, he sent 2 of his disciples and said to them, "Go into the village ahead of you. Immediately as you enter, you will find tied there a colt that has never been ridden. Untie it and bring it. If anyone says to you, 'Why are you doing this?' just say, 'The Lord needs it,' and will send it back here immediately." The disciples went away and found a colt tied near a door outside in the street. As they were untying it, some of the bystanders said, "What are you doing untying that colt?" They told them what Jesus had said, and they were allowed to take it. They brought that colt to Jesus and threw their cloaks on it, and he sat upon it. Many people spread their cloaks on the road, and others leafy branches that they had cut in the fields. Then those who went ahead and those who followed were shouting, "Hosanna! Blessed is the one who comes in the name of the Lord. Blessed is the coming kingdom of our ancestor David." So that's the opening of the entrance to Jerusalem in the last week. People are flocking to, I'm having muffler issues, excuse me. Hum a little tune, Nina. People are flocking to the temple to the tune of like 200,000 people come in for this annual festival. It's called the Festival of the Passover, a Jewish tradition when they were passed over from the angel of death by putting the sign of a cross on their doorpost. So what Mark doesn't talk about in this story is that a common practice pretty much during any festival in Jerusalem is an imperial procession. We have a Roman governor named Pontius Pilate, and he shows up at all of these festivals in this procession with a formidable army of soldiers. So they're coming not as a worshiper, not as a follower of the Jewish law. They're coming to ensure that the peasants know who's top dog, and they're coming to ensure that there's no trouble, no rebels, no bad hombres in the crowd. So I invite you, because we're going to walk through this procession. If you're comfortable, I invite you to just close your eyes and help imagine the scene with me as the procession is starting, and we're setting up the scene for a perfect spiritual storm. So we're standing alongside a dirt road leading into Jerusalem, and we turn our eyes to the west. We really hear it before we see it. It's a massive pack of horses, hundreds of foot soldiers carrying weapons and banners. There are drums beating. The soldiers are dressed in full armor, and the bright sun glints off of their metal weapons. And as they approach, great clouds of dust begin to swirl. So we cover our faces with our scarves because we can taste the dust in our mouth, and we can feel it in our eyes. And we can sense the palpable energy of grandeur and of excitement. We're hearing those thundering hooves of the horses. We're hearing the rhythm of the drumbeat, the rhythm of the marching soldiers' boots. And we hear the engines of the big, bad, black Hummer revving as the governor leads this procession in. So as we're standing at the side of the road, we're here for a religious festival. We're standing at the side of the road, and we're watching this governmental procession come in. The order of the law. What is our feeling? Are we in awe of the power and the grandeur of the procession? Are we curious about why they're here and what's going on? Are we angry that they're here, meddling in our sacred annual festival? So as we're processing those questions and those feelings, our eyes turn to the east. And from the east, we see the vastly understated entrance of Jesus. A simple man in his little green Prius, putting into town with just a few dozen followers on foot. And as Jesus nears the gates of Jerusalem, we begin to gather around him. We are so excited that he's here, and we're greeting him enthusiastically, singing praises, shouting Hosanna, and we're laying our cloaks on the road and spreading our leafy branches out before him. So at this stage of our Easter experience, it is vital that we understand what's really going on here with these two processions. And here's where we get metaphysical, because what we see going on out here with the imperial procession coming from the west and the humble, sacred wayshower and teacher coming from the east, all of what's going on out here relates directly to our consciousness and to the collective human consciousness. So what's the symbolism of this humble procession and this big, noisy, in-your-face procession? These two processions, say Borg and Dominic Crossan, these two processions represent the central conflict that led to the crucifixion. Pilate's entrance proclaims power by force. Yes? Threat of violence, physical harm to anyone that looks sideways, steps out of line, doesn't do what they're supposed to do to honor the Roman emperor. Now, the Roman barracks are situated in the hills overlooking the city of Jerusalem. And it's significant that this ruling power overshadows the city of the great, great temple. Governor Pilate and his military defenders enter Jerusalem from the west. And in a metaphysical sense, we look to the west as the day is done, as the sun is setting. So it's significant that they're coming from that direction, because in a metaphysical sense, we can look at this procession, we can look at the power that they think they demonstrate, and know that that is coming to an end. Because we have something so big coming from the east. We have the divine consciousness, life, love, law, mind, principle, God, spirit, entering from the east, from where the dawn, where is it? From where the dawn arises. So it's significant that this humble little procession is coming from the east, because it is a new day dawning within us. It is a new consciousness coming to light within us. How is this relevant today? It feels extremely relevant to me. And you'll learn a little more about that as we learn a little bit more about the under relationship with the government and the temple. For now, let's bring it inside and ask ourselves the question, who or what is the ruling authority in my life? Who or what overshadows the true light, the biggest expression that we can be? Is it the old familiar self-doubt? Not me, pick somebody else. Is it lack? I don't have what it takes. I don't have enough time. I don't have whatever. Is it dis-ease that overshadows the true light that we could be? So the question, one of the questions that we'll be chewing on this week are, which false beliefs, something less than truth, capital T, which false beliefs are running rampant on the streets of my mind? What does that Hummer look like in there? Our first leg of the journey is about coming face to face with the ruling forces in our little corner of the kingdom. And that alone is a concept, for those of you who've been spiritually awake for a period of time, you know that that is an ongoing process. I haven't discovered that there's an end-all be-all, that when we get over something or get through something and we go, handled that, and then, you know, a month later, a year later, a decade later, shows up, different hairdo, different clothes, but it's all the same topic coming at a deeper level. So that's our work about Easter. Let's talk about Jerusalem. This location is super, super, super significant, and it's a real mixed bag. There's a whole lot of detail and history here, but the important thing to know excuse me, is that Jerusalem is and has been for over a millennium at that point the capital of Israel, the capital city. And historically it's the city of joy, because when King David served, Jerusalem was the beloved city. King David was the apple of God's eye, just the best king ever. And really brought the nation of Israel together. And so Jerusalem was known then as the city of love. Politically, not so much. Politically, Jerusalem is known as the city of oppression and pain. You see, after David was his son Solomon, and he built this amazing, like a Trump Tower type job. He built this amazing temple, and then along came the big bad Babylonians, and they took over, they destroyed the temple and exiled all the Jewish nation, Israelites, over to Babylonia for several decades. I'm skimming history in a big way. So then, after they were allowed to come back into Jerusalem, they built a much more moderate temple. Well, then along comes the Roman government and destroys that temple. Like, we can't get a temple to save our lives. You know, we spend all this time and energy building it, and then here comes this overpowering, this overshadowing government. So we have the city of love. We have the city of pain and oppression. We have the city of God because of the location of that temple. During King Solomon's time, the temple represented the sacred center of the Jewish world. And for the remaining wall, if some of you know about that, that remains a very sacred pilgrimage for Jewish nation all over the world. And finally, Jerusalem represents our city of hope. One thing about the nation of Israel, and by the way, the metaphysical interpretation of Israel is with God. I am with God. So one big thing about the nation of Israel is they never give up hope. The kingdom is always at hand. So the thing about us coming to Jerusalem is our ability to be in the midst of all of this, to be in the midst of the city of love, to be in the midst of the pain and oppression and those overpowering governors dancing around in our minds. It's our ability to be in the midst of our sacred temple and our sacred place. And it's our ability to be in a place of hope which is the most watered down level of faith. So it's really big that we're in Jerusalem, because during these coming weeks we're going to deal with all of this, the love and the pain and the oppression and the hope. But here's what was going on politically. This temple was a real snake's nest. So here's the deal. The temple authorities are very wealthy people. They're appointed by the king, or in this case, the emperor. The emperor likes to be around wealthy, smart people who know how to swindle others, peasants, you and me, out of our land. We give 20% of everything that comes from our land to the temple. So these temple authorities are our religious inspiration. And then they're also the hand servant of the Roman government. Tricky spot to be in. And it had gotten so insidious, and the peasants were so unhappy and angry and upset that they really resented the temple priests, the authorities, and their collusion with the Roman government. So do you see how that's such a big knot in there? The situation that we have that might sound familiar today is that we have a very small percentage of elite and wealthy people, quote unquote, governing our country and essentially dominating the many of us, the 80 to 90% peasants. Any of that sound or feel familiar in our world today? Remember, this is one lens, my friends. We can call that reality, or we can call it all kinds of things, actually. I tend to call it the circus, but. So our Easter framework is this. The Roman Empire dominated the entire region. We have the elite, wealthy, serving as the temple authorities, supposedly serving us in a religious way, but certainly serving the Roman government and giving them what they wanted. And those chief priests in cahoots with the Roman government want their hands on Jesus. And he knew that. How could he not know? And he went anyway. He went anyway. So reflecting on this context that we have, can we see any parallels in our own little kingdoms? Like just our little corner of the kingdom? Can anybody find any parallels? And when you look at our kingdom at large, can you find some parallels? Fascinating how timeless these stories can be. So we have the perfect making of a spiritual storm. It gets more and more exciting as the week goes on. The hot embers are laying at the ready. The peasants are hot. The Roman government wants the status quo. The wealthy temple authorities want their status quo. And here comes Jesus. Divine consciousness riding into town. New paradigm. And Jesus is ready to poke the embers. Not slipping in under the radar. He's coming from the east. He is the new dawn coming. And he's ready to poke the bear. So our spiritual task this season is to recognize the one, the presence, the divine mind, the ruling consciousness coming toe to toe with our status quo authorities up here. The dis-ease, the lack, the I'm not enough, somebody has some kind of power over me. Let's meditate. As we settle in this morning and prepare to be a sanctuary, that's one of my favorite songs. Pure and holy, tried and true. We exist in this earthly realm and on this human plane for whatever life experience has to show us. And the greater truth, the ever-present truth, is that we are spiritual beings created out of a divine blueprint, a divine pattern that exists in God's mind. And so on our Easter journey this year, we are called to be mindfully open, mindfully attentive. Some of us have heard the biblical phrase, be in this world, but not of it. We are here to be. We are here to be the light. We are here to make a difference. In the face, in the midst of what life brings. The sanctuary is always available. We carry it with us. Never separate from the light, from the love, from the understanding. As we ponder our Jerusalem, our governors, our way shower, we step into the silence, opening our consciousness, our minds, our hearts to the light, to the word, to the message intended only for us. Be still and know that I am. is. Thank you, Nina. Now comes the time to get mindful about the law of circulation, giving and receiving, knowing that we are the flow. We are the flow of substance. We are the flow of spirit. We are the flow of life. And we swim in this mighty river of good. And it shows up in our hands as an energy that we call money. And as we share this energy, we know that we are sharing from an infinite pool. We know that there's infinite substance where this came from. And so we give with lavish hearts. We give with grateful hearts. We bless what we give because, Paula, what's the word? What we appreciate appreciates. So the blessing is found in the program on the right-hand side. Starts with divine love. Together, please. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I give, and all that I receive. I am grateful. Carlos has a little tune called Orange and Green.
It's a little ditty about a fellow growing up in a mixed family. I think you'll get the gist of it. I think he comes out for the better because he gets a much greater understanding of life.
Catholic and Protestant, right?
Yeah.
It's been this way.
Oh, it is Heard all that.
Holy ground. Spirit is just streaming today, like really, I'm open. So we join our hearts in gratitude. We join our hearts in truth, blessing these gifts. We see them pressed down, overflowing, supporting this ministry and far, far, far beyond these walls as we serve our world. We see these gifts dedicated to the work of Spirit, always, always, always giving thanks. And so it is. Thank you, Otis. So we'll stand as you are able and willing. We have a peace song that the lyrics are on your green sheet. And then we'll have the prayer for protection. The board and I are going to stick up here so we can get our board photo done without having to track down 7 people. You know how long that can take. So I'll stay up here and I bless you all. Here's our muffins. Our muffins are back. God surrounds us. Yes, you are. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Together, wherever I am, God is. And that's the truth.
That's the truth.